Good afternoon, AAA members, and thank you for joining us for our very last presentation of our virtual traveler showcase. It has been so much fun talking about all these fantastic destinations over the last couple of weeks, and we here at AAA are ready to help start planning your next great adventure for 2021 and beyond. That said, we saved a fantastic presentation for last, so thank you again for joining us. But before we begin, I want to go over some quick housekeeping with you all. You will be muted throughout the presentation today. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions box and we will answer as many questions as we can at the end. There are handouts included in the presentation that you're more than welcome to download and keep. Our travel professionals here at AAA also have these documents on hand and can walk you through the details. This presentation is being recorded and we will be sending you a link to the recording by email after the event today. There will also be a short survey included in the email as well, so if you could please take a few moments and complete the survey for us, your feedback is greatly appreciated. And we will have information about how you can get in touch with our knowledgeable AAA travel professionals at the end of the presentation. With that said, we are so happy to have Amtrak Vacations and Railbookers join us today. Amtrak Vacations is the leading supplier of vacation packages featuring Amtrak rail services. They combine the thrill of rail travel with the inclusive travel packages for one-of-a-kind vacations throughout North America, with over 300 rail vacations to amazing cities, scenic landscapes, and spectacular national parks. Since 2003, Railbookers has been the leading provider of independent rail vacations across Europe, the United States, Canada, and beyond. Their mission is to take the complexity out of independent rail travel and offer AAA members unparalleled service, incredible travel experiences, and the very best value. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Tyler Wallenegger, Business Development Manager for AAA's preferred travel partners, Amtrak Vacations, and Railbookers. Thanks for joining us today, Tyler.
Thank you so much for having me, Nathan, and welcome AAA members to today's Traveler Showcase with Amtrak Vacations and Railbookers. I am your host and train conductor through this virtual train journey of ours, which we'll be talking about today, not only through domestic travel with Amtrak Vacations, but also international travel with Railbookers. So climb on board with me and welcome aboard. So today we'll be covering so many popular rail vacations and destinations, and it's important for you to know what travel is like on board the trains, some of the rail vacation experiences and destinations you may consider for your next dream vacation, and also what are some popular routes you can actually start from your hometown. We'll even talk about what life is like and also the safety on board the trains during this time. Now, folks, for those of you who are of course, joining us today, welcome. And we're going to be talking about where can you travel to next by train. As you know, Amtrak offers over 30 plus different routes throughout the U.S. Amtrak actually covers 46 out of the 48 continental states in the U.S. There's over 500 plus Amtrak stations to travel from, and actually 9 are located in the state of Oregon. So again, a lot of great ways for you to be able to travel to by train. Folks, for those of you who may not be familiar with Amtrak, Amtrak again features so many different rail experiences, traveling from, for example, from Chicago to Glacier National Park, onward, of course, to the Pacific Northwest. You can even travel down the Pacific Northwest on the Coast Starlight train to the beautiful Golden State of California, and so much more. So we'll be talking about a lot of these great rail experiences today and how you can start planning your next dream vacation with AAA. So
Hey,
first of all, yes.
I think that your slide is stuck.
Oh, let's see here. Which slide is it stuck on?
Thank you for joining us. I'm going to take the presentation back really quick. Hang on one second.
No worries.
I'll send it right back to you.
Sorry about that. Let's see here. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Let's see here.
There you go.
All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yep, you're in business.
Perfect. All right, so folks, as I mentioned, whenever you're ready to go, we of course are there to serve you. Starting off with what's the safety protocols that are on board Amtrak at this time? Well, number one, they've enhanced the cleaning protocols on board the trains and at the stations. Of course, they're making sure that they clean and sanitize all the chairs, of course, the doors, everything you could think of, by making sure it's a clean and safe environment for both passengers and staff. On board the trains right now, they are required to wear facial coverings for both passengers and staff inside the stations and on board the trains and throughway buses. Amtrak also has the state-of-the-art filtration system where they filter out new air every 4 to 5 minutes. They're also going contactless on board the train to limit the touch between passengers and staff. So right now, you'll actually be able to download your tickets either on your mobile device or some sort of electronic device. And most of these routes that we were going to be talking about today actually have the opportunity to upgrade to those private rooms, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But right now, folks, the biggest thing I should share with you is that Amtrak is only offering limited bookings at this time. So they're only filling up their trains to 50% capacity. So less people on the trains to help with social distancing, to make your stay on board pleasant and enjoyable. Now, folks, packing for the train. I want to talk about that for a moment. So for those of you who are probably frequent flyer miles, or definitely fly for business or for pleasure, packing sometimes can be a little bit of a hassle when trying to fly. But with traveling by train, they make it simple and easy. On board Amtrak, each passenger is able to bring on 2 free carry-on bags and 2 checked bags per person. Not to mention, you can actually check your luggage in 45 minutes prior to departure. I don't know if you could do that at any airport with any airline, folks. So 45 minutes prior to departure. And again, this is basically how much you can pack with you when traveling on the train. And with Amtrak Vacations, we not just only supply the Amtrak rail component, but we also, of course, book your hotel accommodations for you as well, which will be 3, 4, and 5 diamond options. We also have the opportunity by adding on additional sightseeing tours, transfers, and more to make your vacation as fluid and as wonderful as possible. But all of our rail vacation packages, folks, are fully customizable. We tailor make our vacation packages to fit your needs. We can make any of our vacation packages round trip from your hometown, again, over 500 plus Amtrak stations. We can add on any additional destinations or extra nights to the vacation experience. We can even upgrade your accommodations on board the train to those private sleepers. And first and foremost, folks, I want to talk about what life is like on board Amtrak. So, of course, they start off with the coach accommodations. Now, coach class, folks, is very comfortable, very luxurious. As you can see here, it's almost like traveling on a business class or first class flight. The chairs fold down to a 45-degree angle to give you that ultimate amount of relaxation. You also have a wonderful footrest to be able to recline back and enjoy the scenery out by the big picturesque window by your seat. You also have, of course, a fold-out table to be able to enjoy some snacks or beverages, or maybe if you want to do some work on your laptop, you can do so. They even have, of course, plugs where you can be able to charge your mobile or electronic devices. Lastly, of course, too, they have extra space for your luggage. So if you do want to have bring a carry-on bag, you can, of course, store it right above your head there. They also have, of course, air conditioning control right here, as well as reading lights, so again, to make your journey on board the train a pleasurable one. But folks, I really want to talk about what the sleeping accommodations are like on board Amtrak. And one of the important things you should know is, number one, you can actually board privately with a priority boarding with Amtrak when you upgrade to a sleeping accommodation. Not to mention, you have the privacy of your own lockable door that locks from the inside. Again, not only to be able to board privately is a nice benefit, but also having your own private sleeping compartment. One other thing I should also mention to you folks is when you are traveling board Amtrak, you are required to wear your facial mask, as I mentioned, but once you're in your room, you can actually remove your facial covering, so you don't have to worry about that when you're in your cabin. Another great benefit is when you actually do upgrade to a sleeping accommodation for those folks who love to travel and on board a train, such as myself, you can actually bring on your own alcohol beverages and consume them in your sleeper car. One other thing I should mention, folks, is for those who say are coach who aren't able to bring your own alcohol beverages and consume at your seat, it has to be in a private sleeping compartment. So just as a reminder on that. But folks, it doesn't just end there with your private sleeping compartment. You also have your own assigned dedicated car attendant that is there to serve you from the moment you board the train to the moment you depart. They're there to also take care of everything from your toiletries, any bottled water service you may need, coffees, juices, even down to turn down service. So if you are ready to go to sleep, they'll take care of your sleeping accommodations for you. When you're ready to arise, they're there to turn it back over to your sitting arrangement during the day. And folks, the first sleeping accommodation I want to talk about is the roomette. Now, the roomette is a great economical and comfortable option. It's two seats facing one another during the day, and then of course a bunk bed style configuration at night. This is available for either one or two adults. And as you can see here, folks, one of my favorite parts about traveling the train is actually the big picturesque window, so you can get in the views of the surrounding scenery on board the train. But as you'll notice, this is they have a lockable door from the inside. You also have, of course, a fold-out table, so you can be able to enjoy that glass of wine or have maybe a cheese or fruit tasting in your room. That's something that my wife and I did when we traveled up from Los Angeles to Seattle. You also have, of course, air and quality control in your cabin, reading lights. You also have thick, heavy curtains. If you want to take a nap, you can do so on either side, both the windows and also your door. And then again, above your head is actually a second bunk, which will be transformed to a bunk bed style at night by the cabin steward. And as you can see here, this couple is having an enjoyable time talking with one another as they're ready to head back to sleep. But on board the train, folks, sleeping on board is truly an experience at that. Nothing beats the smooth rhythm of the train as you're heading to sleep. So again, for those who've never experienced a train travel journey before. But for those who want a little bit more extra space, you can actually upgrade to the bedroom. Now, the bedroom is, of course, about 2 times larger than the roomette. It is a bunk bed style configuration at night and a nice couchette and captain's chair during the day. You see this lovely couple actually being able to socialize and enjoy the views of the surrounding scenery of the train. You also have your own private bathroom and shower included in your cabin. So you can actually be able to, of course, enjoy those amenities inside, and your cabin steward is there to take care of everything for you, from toiletries to also making sure your cabin is nice and clean when you're ready to bed. Now, folks, as you can see, again, very spacious, very comfortable, as you can see by this couple, just enjoying their time on board the train. So for those folks who are very curious, the bedroom accommodation is a great sleeping option that is very popular right now. So if this is something you do want to book, please make sure you reach out to your local AAA travel advisor so that way we can start planning your next vacation with Amtrak Vacations. Now, folks, I want to talk about the accessible bedroom. Now, the accessible bedroom is a great accommodation for those who maybe have mobility issues or need a little additional assistance. This is the great accommodation where you can be able to have the additional assistance from the cabin steward and then also have space for your wheelchair. You also have access to the accessible bathroom, which will be located in your cabin as well. So this is accommodation for those who need that additional assistance. Now, folks, I want to talk about the dining experience on board the train. So traveling by train, it's not just your hotel on wheels, it's not only your sightseeing tour experience, but also your dining experience on board as well. So on board the train, they do have a plethora of options to choose from. What they have right now is called is flexible dining. Now, flexible dining means is you can either have your meals brought to you in your private sleeping compartment, or you can make arrangements to have your dining experience in the dining car. Now, the dining car normally would be where you'd be sitting with other passengers, which they call as communal seating. But at this time, due to social distancing and following those CDC guidelines, Amtrak is only allowing sleeper car passengers to dine in the dining car with their either solely by themselves or with their party that they're traveling with. So just be aware of that, folks. Now, I want to talk about one of our most popular rail vacation experiences right now, folks, which is the Northern Rail experience. For those of you who love to be able to explore the Pacific Northwest, you'll not be able to not only travel on just one, not two, but three scenic Amtrak train routes. The first will be the Empire Builder leaving from Chicago. This, for those of you folks who are rail enthusiasts such as myself, the Great Northern Railway Company actually designed this route back in the early 1800s, and the reason for is to bring the goods from Seattle and Portland over to the Windy City of Chicago. But they first, of course, were having a tough time driving it by horseback and carriage. It was not easy because of the treacherous terrain. That's why they designed designed the Empire Builder route, and it got their name by the person that built the Empire Builder train route with the Great Northern Railway. But the route itself stands today as one of the most scenic Amtrak train routes that Amtrak offers. You'll travel through the different Cascade mountain ranges. You'll travel through Glacier National Park, different types of topography, such as the Swiss Alps of America. You'll travel through different canyon areas, and again, even traveled over the cliffs, as you can see here, which are just breathtaking and may take just as many pictures as you can when traveling in the observation dome car. And then you'll arrive into Seattle, folks, the Emerald City, and we have you staying there for 2 nights where you could be able to explore the city itself, where we provide sightseeing experiences to the Space Needle, where you can get to be able to check that out. You also have time to explore the Chihuly Garden and Glass Museum, which, of course, Chihuly himself was influenced by Venetian glassmakers when he was studying abroad in Venice and brought back his experience and influence to the great city of Seattle. We also have the opportunity for you to add on additional sightseeing tours to be able to explore Mount Rainier National Park or Olympic National Park as well. So again, those sightseeing tours we can add on to your vacation, make it a more scenic experience. So as I mentioned, you'll be able to check out Chihuly Garden and Glass Museum, which is definitely world-renowned. And then after time in Seattle, you'll board the Coast Starlight train, which will travel from Seattle down through Puget Sound, through the Cascade Mountain Range. You'll even see Mount Shasta from the rear of your window. And then also, of course, traveling right around the bay to San Francisco itself. And then when you arrive into San Francisco, you'll be greeted by the Golden Gate Bridge, which we'll see in a moment. But one of my favorite parts about being on the Coast Starlight train, folks, was actually being able to see the coastal views. My wife and I were actually very fortunate enough to be able to see sea otters at play when we were on the train itself. It was absolutely amazing. So highly recommend exploring that train route. But then, of course, you'll arrive into San Francisco, be greeted by the Golden Gate Bridge. We also provide sightseeing tour experiences of San Francisco, where you'll be able to check out Alcatraz, we'll check out the Lombard Street, the cable cars, everything you can think of when seeing the historic city of San Francisco. We even also provide a sightseeing tour experience that allows you to be able to check out the Muir Woods, which is very famous for the redwood trees, as well as the small fishing village of Salcedo with the Bay Cruise. All of this will be included in the San Francisco stay when you're with us. And then after your time in San Francisco, you'll then board the California Zephyr train, which travels from San Francisco all the way back to Chicago. Now, arguably, the California Zephyr train is, I would have to say, #1 on Amtrak's most popular train routes list. Why? Because it travels through the Colorado Rockies. It travels through the Donner Pass, the Red Rocks of Utah, and so much more. This is something that you will only see, folks, in like those pictures, or even if you've ever watched Hell on Wheels. This is the train route that the Union Pacific designed because it was so glamorous. So again, this is a great train route for those who really want to be able to look at the scenery on the train. So their Northern Rail Experience package, folks, is 10 days starting at $1,399, and again includes all round-trip accommodations on board Amtrak. You'll do the Empire Builder, the Coast Starlight, and the California Zephyr. We also provide 2 nights hotel accommodations in Seattle with sightseeing, and 2 nights hotel accommodations in San Francisco with sightseeing. So all of this, of course, is included in the package. Now, folks, when you step off the train, you are in the heart of the national park. So you get to be able to enjoy the wide open spaces, the fresh, clean air, even, of course, the local wildlife when you get to be off on the train. So it's a really great way for you, instead of having to try to find parking or having to drive with, in an RV and pay attention to the road, why not be able to relax, enjoy the scenery, and leave the driving to the train engineers? That's how it's supposed to be meant to travel, is for you to be able to relax and have a leisurely time. Now, I want to talk about another great vacation experience with us, folks, is our Rails to the Grand Canyon. This is a round trip package starting in Los Angeles, but keep in mind, we can customize this to start from your hometown. But it includes the famous Amtrak Southwest Chief as you're traveling to Williams, Arizona, right on Route 66. You'll be able to travel through the canyonlands, different types of rock formations, and staying overnight on the train before you pull into Williams. And then when you're in Williams, folks, you'll travel on the scenic Grand Canyon Railway train. I've also done this train experience myself with my family, and it is a wonderful train experience that travels through the different types of topography as you're traveling to the Grand Canyon. And one of my favorite parts of the trip is actually Khabib National Forest, right before you pull into the South Rim. And the reason why, folks, is because this is the largest ponderosa grove in northern Arizona. So again, a lot of great ways for you to be able to see. And also, funny enough, there's actually, you'll be traveling over a historic volcano. Imagine that as you're pulling over to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. But there's several different classes of choices you can choose from coach class, first class, observation dome car. And for those who are maybe traveling for a special occasion like an anniversary or birthday, or maybe looking to go for a honeymoon, why not upgrade to the luxury observation dome car, or as you can see here, folks, the luxury parlor class. Live like a rail baron for the day and get the really great views and enjoy the scenery on board. And then when you arrive into the Grand Canyon, folks, this is the seventh wonder of the world. And lucky number 7 million visitors a year visit the Grand Canyon itself. As you can see, its splendor just captures the imagination for all to enjoy. But when you stay at the Grand Canyon with us, you'll be staying there for 2 nights. And we actually allow you staying inside Grand Canyon National Park, not outside, inside the national park. So that way you could be able to enjoy as much time as possible when staying there in the Grand Canyon. But we have, of course, a plethora of hotel options to choose from. One of my personal favorites is the El Tovar Hotel, which is right on the rim there and right next to the old Grand Depot Station, which, by the way, folks, for those of you rail enthusiasts out there, the Grand Canyon Railway train started back in 1901. It was originally founded by the Santa Fe, Ashton, and Topeka Railway. And they, of course, designed this route because a lot of people, including famous actresses, stars, and famous individuals such as Teddy Roosevelt, Albert Einstein, they've all come to visit Grand Canyon National Park, took the train up to Grand Canyon and stayed at the El Tovar Hotel. This was one of the resorts that was very popular for the time, and it still stands to this day as a historical property. But we don't offer not just the El Tovar Hotel, folks. We have a plethora of hotel options to choose from the Kachina Lodge, the Bright Angel Lodge, the Maswick Lodge, and so much more. But when you're staying in the Grand Canyon, you have 2 nights there. We do provide a sightseeing tour that takes you around the South Rim, and every time you take get off and explore a little bit, every picture is better than the last. It truly is. And one of my favorite points when I did our South Rim tour was I saw a California condor in its natural environment. So I was blown away, and I had to take a picture. So you'll see California condors as they're, of course, soaring over the canyon. So definitely check that out. Make sure you bring a great camera along with you. So this is our Rails to the Grand Canyon package. It's 5 days, 4 nights, starting at $949. What a steal. This is including round-trip accommodations on board the Grand Canyon Railway, round-trip accommodations on board Amtrak, and 2 nights hotel stay inside Grand Canyon National Park. Now, folks, you're not only going to be able to see not 1, but 2 great national parks with our Grand Canyon to Yosemite round trip from Chicago package. It starts off in Chicago with the Southwest Chief. As you're traveling down south to Williams, you'll travel through of course, the heart of the U.S. You'll travel through different valleys, canyons, pueblos, you name it, as you're traveling to Williams, Arizona, right in Route 66. And then you'll stay in Williams for 1 night at the Grand Canyon Railway Hotel, and then the next morning you'll board the Grand Canyon Railway train up to the Grand Canyon National Park with 2 nights stay there, followed by taking the Grand Canyon Railway train back down to Williams to reboard the Southwest Chief, heading over to Los Angeles. And then once you arrive in Los Angeles, you'll then be greeted by the Amtrak's Coast Starlight train. Now, you'll be traveling during this train during the day, so keep that in mind, folks. But you're going to be able to see the California coastline mirroring Highway 1 like no other. It's actually probably one of my favorite parts of the route because you'll be traveling over state beaches such as Goleta State Beach, El Capitan State Beach, Santa Barbara, you name it, all of that will be, of course, viewed on board the train. And then you'll arrive into San Francisco in the evening, where we provide you with 3 nights hotel accommodations to explore the city of San Francisco, and of course, a day trip to Yosemite National Park. So as I mentioned, you'll see Grand Canyon National Park and be able to check out all that Grand Canyon has to offer. One I will say, folks, one of my recommendations for those of you who are maybe a little bit more morning birds or photogenic people, I do suggest that you do wake up a little bit early in the morning and watch the Grand Canyon and see the sunrise come over. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's sometimes indescribable what words can say. So you get to see the canyon painted with different colors from yellows, purples, oranges, reds. It's just amazing. And then after time there, you'll travel to San Francisco, get to see the Golden Gate Bridge. You'll get to see Alcatraz. You'll get to see the cable cars, Lombard Street, Fisherman's Wharf. All that will be, of course, for your first full day in San Francisco. And then your second full day in San Francisco, you'll take a day trip to Yosemite National Park to visit El Capitan. You'll visit Half Dome. You'll see the Mariposa Grove, which is where the high redwood trees or forests are at. You'll actually get to be able even to go through one of the redwood trees when you're there as well. So again, a lot to be able to see when exploring Yosemite National Park. This is an 11-day package, folks, starting at $2,249. It includes round-trip accommodations on board the train, including the Southwest Chief, the Coast Starlight, and the California Zephyr. You also get 6 nights hotel accommodations and sightseeing tour experiences when you're visiting Grand Canyon and San Francisco to Yosemite National Park. Now, folks, for those of you who actually want to be able to do more of the train experience, I'm actually be seeing all of this country via train, why not look at our Grand Rail Experience? Now, our Grand Rail Experience package does start in Chicago, but again, we can customize this to start from your hometown, but it'll start in Chicago, taking the Empire Builder train, traveling through Glacier National Park to Seattle. And if you stay in Seattle, there to be able to, of course, explore the Emerald City, see the Space Needle, the Jehuti Garden Glass Museum, Pike's Market, the Wharf, all that there. And then you'll travel on the Coast Starlight through its entire route from Seattle down to Los Angeles. And you'll be able to, of course, view the coastal views on board the Coast Starlight train. Then down to Los Angeles to be able to be greeted by the stars. Just kidding. you may see some popular movie stars when you're there in Los Angeles, and of course be greeted by the high rises and palm trees of Southern California. And then after time in Los Angeles, you'll head on board the Sunset Limited train to New Orleans and stay there and actually be able to check out the bayou. You'll get to explore the history of the French Quarter District and be able to check out some local cuisine. After time in New Orleans, you'll travel on the Crescent train as it travels through the Southeast Corridor up to Washington, D.C., and you'll be greeted by the famous Washington Monument before you pull into Washington, D.C. Union Station, which, by the way, folks, Washington, D.C. Union Station is world-renowned because of its architectural splendor. By the way, the Italians actually were influenced by our architecture so much they designed the Milan Central train station off of the Washington, D.C. Union Station. So pretty interesting, huh? But when you're staying in Washington, D.C., folks, we actually provide you one of our most highly recommended and popular sightseeing tour experiences, which is the Monuments by Moonlight tour. For those of you who maybe seen Washington, D.C., maybe seen these monuments during the day, it's a complete different experience at night, especially seeing the Lincoln Memorial lit up at night is just phenomenal. So we do provide that sightseeing tour experience when you're staying in Washington, D.C. This is a 14-day package, folks, starting at $2,199, includes round-trip accommodations on the Empire Builder, Coast Starlight, Sunset Limited, Crescent train, and the Capital Limited train round trip from Chicago. We also provide the sightseeing tour experiences in Seattle, Los Angeles, New Orleans, Washington, D.C., and 6 nights hotel accommodations in those popular getaway destinations as well. Now, folks, for those of you who really want to explore a little bit more of the bayou and actually visit down in New Orleans, we actually have what's called our New Orleans Ultimate Getaway Round Trip from Chicago package. This package, of course, includes round trip from Chicago on the City of New Orleans train as you're heading down to the beautiful city of New Orleans. You'll be greeted by, of course, the famous jazz musicians that travel down the French Quarter District. You'll even get to be able to sample some fine cuisine, such as Creole. Maybe you get to have some beignets. All of that, of course, down in New Orleans. And one of my personal favorite suggestions and trips that we do offer is the swamp tour, swamp and bayou tour, I should mention, that travels through the swamps of New Orleans. You got to actually be able to see the local wildlife, such as alligators, snakes, birds of prey in their natural habitat. But again, this is a six-day package starting at $1,039. It is our New Orleans Ultimate Getaway round trip from Chicago. 3 nights hotel accommodations in New Orleans, 2 nights on board the train. We also provide dinner at a popular local restaurant in the French Quarter District. We even also provide a New Orleans attractions pass that'll get you to all the popular attractions. Lastly, we provide you that Swamp and Bayou tour, which is very popular in demand. But one of my other favorite personal tours that we could also add on in addition to this package is the Steamboat Natchez Evening Jazz Cruise. It has a nice evening cruise around the bayou, and you also get to be able to listen to nice jazz music with your three-course cuisine dinner. Again, this is also customizable to start from your hometown as well. Now, folks, I want to let you know there's also everyday discounts that you are applicable for. So for those who are traveling with a family, any children that are aged 2 and 12 can actually get 50% off the rail portion. For those who are seniors over the age of 65, you guys are retired, you should celebrate and actually take a rail vacation this year. Take advantage of our 10% off discount for the rail portion. And even for those who are active military or retired military, I salute you. Thank you so much for your service for this country. Every one of us are in your debt and of gratitude, but you too take advantage of this great promotion of 10% off, not just for yourselves, but also for your spouses and your dependents. So again, to thank you for your service. Now, folks, I want to talk about some international travel with Railbookers. Now, Railbookers is our international brand that travels through Canada, Alaska, Europe, Asia, Africa, and beyond. So why do travelers love Railbookers? I'll tell you why. Number one, we book all of our rail vacation packages up to 24 months in advance. So if you're not looking to do something internationally for this year, no problem. Start planning out for 2022. We can start taking advantage of that for you. Again, this is something you can work with your AAA advisor. Lastly, I should also mention, second I should mention is that we do also offer bucket list experiences for special occasions, like if you're traveling for an anniversary or birthday, or maybe you just say, hey, Tyler, I just want to go out and escape somewhere. Where can I go? Railbookers can start helping out with that. We also offer the freedom and flexibility to be able to take any type of vacation you want and customize it and tailor it, I should say, to the way you want to do it. We also provide scenic experiences, so again, it gets the scenic way to travel. And if you deposit now with your local AAA advisor, you can pay later down the road. And you even have the option to choose your own hotel accommodations and accommodations on board the trains themselves. We also have a 24-hour global support staff there to serve you when you're traveling. In California, Toronto, Canada, we also have our offices in Massachusetts, the United Kingdom, even down south to Australia. So we're always here to serve you. What I want to talk about, folks, is our maximum flexibility offer. So our maximum flexibility offer, for those of you who are AAA members, get to take advantage of this great offer. And this is since you are, of course, AAA members, take advantage of it. The maximum flexibility offer is for any new reservation that is made between now and March 31st of this year. Any new reservation that is made, you can change your travel dates and even cancel your rail vacation up to 5 days prior to departure. That's right, folks, 5 days prior to departure without incurring any change or cancellation fee to you. We also go for this for any existing reservations. So for any existing reservations you have with AAA for either Amtrak vacations or Railbookers, you too can also take advantage of this offer where they can be able to reschedule up to 5 days prior to departure. So again, this is a great offer to give you that peace of mind, knowing, saying, hey, Tyler, I'm a little bit concerned, but I do want to travel to Europe or Asia or Africa, wherever it may be. This is actually a great way for me to feel comfortable and knowing if I need to book or change my dates, I can do so. We also even take the mystery out of rail travel, folks. I don't know if you're aware, but there's actually 5 different ways you can travel from London to Venice. Keep that in mind. Again, there's 5 different ways. How do we know? Because we go there ourselves. We have all of our travel consultants, our staff have actually experienced these train routes ourselves, and we would, of course, give you the most preferred recommendation based on what you're looking for. But some of these train operators, they don't talk with one another, and it's hard to be able to book some of these trains. That's why we take that mystery out of rail travel for you, so you can be able to get everything confirmed at the time of booking, from your train accommodations, your hotels, your sightseeing tours, and more. We even travel throughout Canada, so we make Canada by train made easy. Some of our most popular routes are actually on board the Via Rail Canadian train, which travels across Canada from Toronto to Vancouver and does make stops in the Canadian Rockies. So if you wish to stop and visit Jasper National Park, Lake Louise, and Banff, we can, of course, take care of that for you. Maybe you want to be able to do a little bit different type of experience. Instead of traveling across Canada, maybe you want to see more of the the French influences of Canada. We do also offer the Eastern Canadian rail experiences, which travel through Niagara Falls, Toronto, Montreal, Quebec City, even up to the maritime provinces of Halifax. So again, there's always something for everyone when traveling to Canada by train. So what does Railbookers offer, folks? Number one, we have confirmed seat reservations. We have sightseeing tour activities to skip the line or even private guided tour experiences. So if you want to explore the Vatican, the Colosseum, the Eiffel Tower, or Stonehenge, whatever you're thinking of, you name it, we have it. We also have, of course, a plethora of hotel options to choose from 3, 4, and 5 diamond hotels. We even have everything from small little boutique hotels to historic properties to even large chains like the Fairmont, Marriott and Hilton properties. All of those, of course, are there. We can service you on that. We also offer ferry transfers that will travel to you from the mainland to the next destination. We have mountain excursions like Mount Pilatus, Jungfrau Joch when you're traveling in Switzerland, and also overnight rail journeys, which are very scenic and memorable. Now, how are European rail operators maintaining a safe environment at this time? Well, I'm going to tell you. Number one, of course, they require facial coverings in the stations and on board the trains themselves for both passengers and staff alike. They have stopped the sale of food and drink on board the trains. But folks, I don't want that to discourage you because most passengers usually bring their own picnic on board the train anyway. So why not have a nice ham and cheese sandwich when you're traveling from Paris down to Zurich, and maybe a nice little bottle of Chardonnay or whatever it may be. So again, there's always ways for you to be able to enjoy the dining on board without having to purchase something on the train itself. They even, of course, changed the seating configuration and allocation on board the train to allow for social distancing. And keep in mind, folks, most of these trains right now are only running at 50% capacity to limit, of course, the amount of people on board the trains themselves to, of course, follow the safety protocols and allow for social distancing. They increased the cleaning and sanitation on both the trains themselves and in the stations, and also are going contactless with ticket control, again, to limit the interaction between passengers and staff. So as a reminder, folks, we can book any of our rail vacation packages as early as tomorrow to 2 years in advance. And as I mentioned, we know because we go. So all of our staff have experienced some of these rail vacations up close and in person. But folks, I want to talk about one of our most popular rail experiences right now. This is something that is, very near and dear to me, which is the Venice Simplon Orient Express. This package actually includes the most scenic route from London to Venice via the Gotthard route, which is through the Swiss Alps. But this is the Bernina Express and the Venice Simplon Express to Venice package. This is 8 days starting at $5,349. It includes 1-night hotel pre-stay in London. You'll board the British Pullman train, which is part of the Venice Simplon Express experience. These train carriages are from the 20s and 30s, so they have a lot of history to share. Some of them actually, one of the carriages was ridden by the Queen Mother, also other members of the royal family, such as Queen Elizabeth herself. Even one of the cars was features for Winston Churchill's funeral car. So again, a lot of history to share on this train. As you're traveling through the Kentish countryside down to Folkestone, you'll then switch trains. You'll travel through the English Channel, I apologize, through a luxury motor coach bus, and then traveling from Calais down to Venice via the Venice Simplon Orient Express. But again, this is an experience that is like no other. But I want to start off with the Bernina Express first, folks, before we talk about the Venice Simplon Orient Express. Now, the Bernina Express is classified as a UNESCO World Heritage Site train. Why? Because, of course, it travels through the Albio Line, it travels through the Bernina Pass, it also travels through the White Lake and Black Lake, which distributes different water sources throughout the continent. You'll even get to travel through, through different types of tunnels, bridges, and so much more all on board this train. And the reason why I have to say I recommend this train is because it offers panorama views when you're traveling through the Engadine Alps of Switzerland. And again, this starts from Toronto to going up to St. Moritz, which is a ski resort town in Switzerland. Now, folks, I want to talk about the Venice Simplon Orient Express. Now, the Venice Simplon Orient Express is a luxury train that has a lot of history for people that have, always imagined or thought of this as a bucket list experience. This train has seen 2 World Wars, and it's also been involved in the Cold War. So again, a lot of history to share with the passengers that do get to ride in its carriages. On board the train itself, the train manager actually will give a guided tour experience of the train and its different carriages and which carriages were made by different chaps on the rail lines. You also get to experience what the dining and lounge is like on board as well. And I have to say, folks, on board the train, the Bar Car 3671. Again, I was very fortunate enough to ride this train 2 years ago with my wife. It is a phenomenal train experience, and I'm actually going to be doing it again this year with my in-laws who've never been to Europe, and this is a kind of a surprise for them. But in Bar Car 3671, folks, this is the social hub of the train where everyone socializes and talks about why they themselves have wanted to do this train experience. But I have to say, the bar area itself is where the action's at. Head barman Valtanisi, he is the head barman there. He makes any type of cocktail or spirit you can think of, but his signature cocktail is the Guilty 12. And for those of you who are Agatha Christie fans, he of course was inspired, like you all, to be able to design this cocktail of his choosing to call it the Guilty 12. And it actually features 12 different ingredients along the route from Paris to Istanbul, which, by the way, for those of you who do want to do the historic route from Paris to Istanbul, it does, this train does run that route once a year, and it's usually near the end of August to beginning of September. But one thing I have to say, folks, it is already sold out for 2021. So if you do want to do it for 2022, please contact your local AAA travel advisor so that way, of course, get that started for you. But I also have to mention about the pianist that is a resident on board the train. He is world renowned and phenomenal because he can memorize all different types of classical music in his head. I was actually very fortunate enough to ask him if he can play Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata number 14 in C sharp minor. He was able to play all three movements from memory. Think about that, all from memory. But I have to say also on the train, folks, there is 3 restaurant cars. My personal favorite is the Côte d'Azur car, which is on the bottom left-hand corner of my screen. This is actually features Lalique glass, which is very famous as he was in his day, like Tiffany is in our day. Lalique glass is very expensive, and it is something you only will see on the train itself. And also in the Côte d'Azur car, they have champagne tasting, so you can actually get to try out different champagnes within the region of Europe. But when you're in the dining car, the cuisine itself is just mind-boggling, and actually your eyes will probably be more bigger than your stomach for sure, because after your 3-course lunch and 4-course dinner, you will definitely be full and having a wonderful night's sleep on board the train. But the head chef, Christian Bogel, is a Michelin star chef. He actually is, again, also world renowned, and he only uses the freshest of ingredients along the route of the train journey. Everything from Brittany lobster to even a souffle. He cooks a souffle on board in a small gallery kitchen. It's just remarkable. So everything from the fine dining china to the glassware, even the ambiance itself, it's like sitting in a palace on a train. But folks, it doesn't just end there with the lounge and the dining cars, but actually your sleeping cabin is also original and historical on board. Actually, the carriage that my wife and I stayed in was the same carriage Agatha Christie got her inspiration on the Murder on the Orient Express. The cabins themselves are original from the 20s and 30s, folks. So as you can see here, there is no bathroom, or should I say ensuite in your cabin. Keep that in mind. There are, of course, water closets at each end of the carriage, so just be aware that this is a historic train. So they didn't have private bathroom showers in their cabin. But if that is of very importance to you, you could, of course, upgrade to the Grand Suite, which we, of course, do offer. Just, of course, contact your local AAA advisor for more details. But on board the train, the cabin accommodations, there are several classes. You could do a solo cabin. You could do a twin cabin, which is basically a cabin that will fit 2 adults. You can also do what's called a cabin suite, which is basically 2 twin cabins with an interconnecting door, which you can see right here in the bottom left-hand corner of my screen. It'll fit either two adults, so 2 on each lower berth, or 4 adults total. But in your cabin, folks, everything is, as I mentioned, original, from the marquetry to the glassware, even the ironwork. It's just as it was back in the 20s. You'll even have your own vanity, which runs hot water and cold water, which, by the way, folks, as I mentioned, this train is original. So they even have a wood-burning stove at each end of the carriage where they actually will heat the hot water. Again, it's just phenomenal. So again, I do highly recommend this train experience for those who always have this as a bucket list on their minds. But now, folks, I want to travel even further up through Switzerland, and we're going to be talking about the Glacier Express in Excellence Class. So this package here is our Grand Glacier Express in Excellence Class. It's 6 days, 5 nights starting off in Zurich, and you'll travel down to Zermatt, which is the famous ski resort town and also famous for the Matterhorn. And also, folks, you'll be able to travel on a wonderful cog railway train experience to visit and see the Matterhorn. But when you're traveling in Zermatt, I have to say, folks, traveling by train in Switzerland is just remarkable because the timing of the trains, they time it so well that you get to actually be able to see everything during the day. But when you're staying in Zermatt, you actually be staying there for 2 nights with us. You'll have a day trip up to the Gornegrat Mountain through the Gornegrat on Cog Railway train, which for those of you who are not familiar with a Cog Railway train, it actually has a third cogwheel in the middle of the train itself, and it latches on as it travels through higher elevations, such as 35 to almost 45% gradients. Most American trains only go at a 2 to 4% gradient, so just be aware of that. And then at the top, folks, you'll have to be able to check out the restaurant area. There's bars, there's shopping areas, and including also a small Matterhorn museum dedicated to the first pioneers to explore the Matterhorn. One helpful tip, I should say, folks, for those of you who are traveling up the Gornegrat, definitely sit on the right side so you can get some great pictures of the Matterhorn without the glares, as you can see, and then as you're heading back down the mountain on the left side. And then after time exploring Zermatt, you'll then travel on the famous Glacier Express train. Now, the Glacier Express, for those of you who may not be aware, people think, oh, express, Tyler, it's not usually a fast train. Usually, but of course, the Glacier Express defines all odds. The Glacier Express actually moves at an average speed of 24 miles per hour. So it's, again, a very, very slow express train in the world. And it travels from Zermatt, which is one of the ski resort towns in Switzerland, to the other side of Switzerland, which will be St. Moritz. So this train was actually designed in the 1930s to connect the two ski resort towns, and it still stands high today. But the Glacier Express will travel over 196 different tunnels and bridges. Of course, it's a true testimony to Swiss engineering, such as the Landwasser Viaduct. You'll travel to some of the highest points in Switzerland, which is the Oberall Pass. You'll even get to travel through one of my favorite points, which is the Rhine Gorge, which is the Grand Canyon of Switzerland, which is only accessible by the Glacier Express itself. But on board the train, there's 3 different classes of services: standard class, first class, and excellence class. Excellence class is this newest class of service. For those folks who may not be aware of, excellence class has a total of 20 seats in the entire carriage. So you get the best seats in the Swiss Alps. Guaranteed window seats, I should might add. So again, these are panorama train carriages, and you also have access to the Glacier Bar, where you can be able to get all of your all alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. I'm so sorry, folks. You also have a 5-course meal included as well, which is freshly cooked and prepared on board the train, which is also included with a wine pairing. So you actually get to try out some Schweiss wine. So for those who are wine connoisseurs, definitely check out some of the Schweiss wine off their menu. It's exquisite and very difficult to get when you're outside of Switzerland. They also have a champagne toast as you're leaving Zermatt before you head over to St. Moritz. And you also have a wonderful amount of staff that are there to take care of you from the moment you board to the moment you depart the train. And then when you're arriving to St. Moritz, which is another ski resort town in Switzerland, you'll be greeted by the beautiful lake, which is crystal blue, as you could see. One of my favorite personal experiences, as I would recommend, is traveling up to Pisnare from the base of St. Moritz. It's a cog railway train and gondola ride up to the mountain. You'll be able to see the Engadine Alps, as well as you'll get to be able to see on a clear day the Matterhorn from the top of the mountain. So again, a lot to be able to explore and see when traveling in Switzerland. Now, folks, we're going to be traveling across the pond, and we're actually going to head over to Alaska, and we're going to be talking about Alaska with Alaska Railroad. So we actually have a package that is very popular in demand right now, which we'll go over in just a moment, but I want to talk about the classes of service on board the train. First is Adventure Class. So Adventure Class is a single-level carriage, as you can see here, with big picturesque windows and, of course, comfortable seating. You do also have access to the Vista Dome car for Adventure Class passengers, as well as access to the Wilderness Cafe Lounge. But for those of you folks who want a little extra space, and also, of course, more of that observation dome car experience, and maybe you're traveling for a special occasion like an anniversary or something, I would highly recommend upgrading to Gold Star service. Gold Star service is a bi-level carriage, which offers, again, that guaranteed 360-degree view windows. You also have access to the viewing platform car, which is one of my favorite parts of the train, where you can get some really great pictures and videos without the glare of the windows, and also, of course, that fresh alpine air. You also have all your meals included when you're on board the train in the Wilderness Cafe Lounge. And finally, of course, complimentary alcohol beverages are served to you in your in Gold Star service as well. Not to mention, of course, for both both services, both Adventure Class and Gold Star service, they also have a live commentary that will point out specific points on the route itself, as well as a local wildlife. So again, a lot to be able to enjoy when traveling on the Alaska Railroad. But this is our Alaska Railroad Adventure package, which is 9 days, starting at $2,849. It includes round trip from Anchorage, so you'll get to be able to check out Talkeetna, the Denali National Park, and Seward, and you'll be able to see popular points like Lake Hood, and of course the other areas of Anchorage, including where they had one of the worst earthquakes in Alaska. You'll even get to head down to Seward and visit the coastline there and visit and see the Kenai Fjords National Park. Now, this is one of my favorite experiences because you'll travel all along the coastline, see the fjords, even the local sea and marine life, such as whales, puffins, different types of birds of prey, like even the bald eagles. You'll even get to see some cute seals when you're on the boat. And then you'll also have some time to explore Talkeetna and its vast wilderness, and also Denali National Park. Now, folks, we're going to travel down through the borders into Canada. And also get to be able to see the two provinces, both British Columbia and Alberta, Canada. This is going to be a 10-day package, folks. You have to be able to explore Vancouver and also having a day trip to Victoria, where I do highly recommend having a high tea at the Fairmont Empress. This is something that is enjoyable for everyone, so I highly do recommend that. And then after your time in exploring the Pacific Northwest in Vancouver, you can hop on the train, which is the VRail Canadian train, traveling overnight, which is the true train experience, to Jasper National Park. And folks, you're not outside the national park, you'll be staying inside in one of our hotels. And then when you're in Jasper National Park, you get to explore the local wilderness, you'll check out the wildlife, you'll get to be able to, of course, be greeted by the small town folk, and also check out some of the most pristine lakes you'll see in the world, such as Maligne Lake and Pyramid Lake. And then after time exploring Jasper, you'll head down to Lake Louise and, of course, see the pristine lake, which is world-renowned. Also, you get to see a little bit of the Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise before you head over to Banff and stay in the gem of the Canadian Rockies. And then after time in Banff, you'll then head down to Calgary to fly on home. But first, folks, I want to talk about the VRail experience for just a moment. The VRail Canadian train is world-renowned because it travels all throughout Canada. But this experience starts off in Vancouver and ends in Jasper. And there's several different classes of choice for the accommodations. But personally, I would recommend either the cabin for one, for those who are traveling solo, or the cabin for two. They do also offer prestige class, but you have to be on the train for over a minimum of 2 nights. So if you want to travel across Canada, you can also upgrade to prestige class. Now, prestige class is basically Queen Murphy bed for 2. It's one of the largest cabins on board the train, a little more of that luxurious ambiance. You also have your own dedicated concierge that's there to take care of you from the moment you board the train to the moment you depart. You also have access to the park car, which is the last car on board the train, which has its own observation dome area and also bar car as well. You even also have all of your alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages included and all of your meals when upgrading to prestige class. Lastly, of course, I should mention, this is the only only cabin accommodation that has its own private bathroom and shower included in the cabin. For the cabin for 2 or cabin for 1, you do have your own private bathroom in the cabin, and of course private shower access across the hall. It is a bunk bed style for the cabin for 2, or a lower berth for the cabin for 1 at night, and of course 2 seats facing one another during the day. And then you have your meals included, which will be both breakfast, lunch, and dinner with non-alcohol beverages included. So again, a great way for you to be able to explore Canada. Lastly, folks, I want to talk about New Zealand. So for those of you folks who want to explore the South Pacific, you can actually get to see with us is New Zealand. This trip starts off in Auckland and ends in Christchurch. You'll have some time to be able to explore the beautiful destinations of Auckland, such as you'll have a day trip to the Flat White Coffee House and also the cosmopolitan locations in Auckland. You also get to explore the Northern Explorer train that travels through the volcanic peaks as you're heading down south to Wellington. You'll even actually have time to do the inner island ferry that travels from Wellington to Picton, and even see some marine local wildlife as you're traveling on the coastal Pacific train from Picton to Christchurch. So again, a lot to be able to see with these train journeys, and actually get to be able to see both islands of New Zealand. And then lastly, of course, one of my favorite experiences, which is the Transalpine train round trip from Christchurch to Greymouth. So again, a way for you to be able to explore all of New Zealand in this 8-day package. So again, you'll see Auckland, Wellington. You'll even also have time to explore Christchurch. March. So again, a lot for you to be able to explore and see in this 8-day package. Now, folks, I want to talk about what does it mean to customize a trip. So for those of you who may not know, with Railbookers and Amtrak Vacations, again, we can customize and tailor-make our vacation packages to fit your needs. So find out more information, contact your local AAA advisor. We can add on any destinations you like. We can even make this a round-trip experience, starting from Paris, ending in Paris, for example. We can even make this trip reverse. So if you see a vacation package you like, let your AAA travel advisor know so we can, of course, accommodate that. You even have the option to upgrade to first class, even add on additional sightseeing tours or upgrade those sightseeing tours to private tour experiences. As a reminder, we have a plethora of hotel options to choose from 3, 4, and 5 diamond options. Our maximum flexibility offer is, of course, still standing between now and March 31st of this year. So for those of you who do make a new reservation with a AAA advisor, please, of course, reference our maximum flexibility offer. You can be able to make any change or cancel your vacation up to 5 days prior to departure, and any existing reservations can schedule up to 5 days prior without incurring any change or cancellation fee at this time. And so, of course, why do travelers love Railbookers? We could book any of our rail vacation packages up to 24 months in advance. We offer bucket list experiences that are for any special occasion. We have the freedom and flexibility to design your vacation package based upon what you're looking for. It is the scenic way to travel by train if you haven't seen or believe so already, and you can deposit now and pay later as you choose. Don't forget, of course, to download the free handouts that are, of course, attached to the screen. And if you have any questions, we'll definitely be talking about that in just a moment. But Nathan, I want to give it back to you to be able to go over the contact information.
Thank you so much for all the great information that you shared with us today, Tyler. I've chatted with many of our AAA members over the last few months, and many have shared with me that they plan to take their next vacation by rail either this year or in 2022. So I
Wonderful.
sincerely hope that this presentation today has inspired your next vacation, whether it be in the States, Canada, Europe, or beyond. I want to apologize that we're a little over time, but I wanted to thank those of you who have submitted questions throughout the presentation today. If you haven't sent in a question yet, now is a great time to do so. But before we get to the questions, I wanted to provide you some information about how you can get in touch with us here at AAA. So he has the contact information for us up on the screen. You can contact us by phone. Our 1-800 number is listed there. When you call the 800 number, you'll be put in touch with a travel professional in a service center nearest you. If you've worked with one of our travel professionals before, definitely go to them. They're going to be your go-to person for providing your travel plans. But if you haven't worked with a travel professional before, a great way to get in touch with us is by email. Our email address is AAAtravel@AAAoregon.com. Just provide us your membership number and a basic overview of what kind of vacation package you're looking for, and we can get that over to a travel professional who can help you start planning your next vacation. You can always visit us on our website at AAA.com, more specifically AAA.com/travel. It has tons of great information and resources, and it has information about our travel partners, including Amtrak Vacations and Railbookers. And then if you would like to meet with one of our travel professionals in person, you can do so at a service center. We're just asking that you call ahead and schedule an appointment. We're still kind of dealing with uncertain times right now, so we want to make sure that everybody is as safe as possible. And Tyler, getting into the questions, I tried to kind of break them down into Amtrak Vacations versus Railbookers.
Of course.
So they were asking about, they said, we are accustomed to the security measures of TSA for air travel. What security measures is done for Amtrak Vacations train travel?
Great question. That's a very great question. So on board the trains themselves, the conductors and staff do a wonderful job of keeping up with the security on board the trains themselves. And at the train station, they have what's called Amtrak police. So Amtrak police are there to be able to, of course, serve and also protect both staff and passengers when traveling across the country. But in regards to TSA, when it comes to security check scans and arriving a few hours before your actual plane departs, that's something you won't have to experience with traveling on board Amtrak. But keep in mind, of course, there's always security and safety is their number one priority when traveling on board Amtrak.
Great. The next question, this is kind of a two-part question, Tyler. They were asking about breaking up the vacation packages. So the first one was asking, the member was writing in they were asking if they could start the vacation packages from their hometown if there's a train station located there.
Absolutely. So if let's say there's a specific Amtrak station that they wish to depart from, again, we can definitely make that as a round trip experience. Or if they want to just travel one way from their train station, we can from their hometown, we can definitely make that as well. If they find a package they like, or maybe two packages they like, but they want to kind of intertwine them, no problem. We can customize and tailor make that as well. That is not an issue.
Great. And the other parts of that question, they were wondering if they had, let's say they booked a vacation package and they wanted to stay a little longer in one of the stops along the way. They were wondering if they're able to pick back up after they've stayed the amount of days that they want to in a specific location.
That is a very great question. Absolutely. So if they want to add on additional nights and sightseeing to that, one of the stops that they make on the train route, we'll of course provide them with the pickup to take the next train that travels to their next destination afterwards. That is not an issue at all.
Great. The other question was talking about dietary needs. Are you able to accommodate vegetarian, gluten-free, that kind of thing on board the Amtrak Vacations trains?
Great question. Absolutely. So I was actually helping out a customer, AAA travel agent with one of their clients that had dietary restrictions. Both one of them was gluten free or had a gluten free dietary restriction, as well as the other was vegan. So absolutely, if you have those types of restrictions, please let your AAA advisor know, so that way, of course, they can let our staff know, and we can make those arrangements on board the train for them. Not a problem.
Excellent. And I think you covered this in your slide, and I apologize, I was taking notes during the presentation. But we had a member that was asking if the Alaska vacation packages are partnered with the Alaska Railroad.
Great question. Yes, so our Alaska packages are partnered with Alaska Railroad. So we, of course, not only provide the two services, the Adventure Class and Gold Star service, but if there are specific destinations they wish to travel to or customize, please let us know. So that way, of course, we could tailor make that for their vacation. But our most popular destinations we service is going to be Seward, which is right on the coastline of Alaska, Anchorage, which is the capital. We also offer Talkeetna, Denali National Park, and also Fairbanks. So they're probably the most popular ones that we do service quite a bit of.
Great. And then the last question, and I know that you said that these trips are very, very customizable. They were asking about whether they can book rail travel to and from Amsterdam or to or from Eastern Europe.
Absolutely. That is not a problem at all. So we do, of course, we can start the train wherever in Europe they like. Some of them, oh my gosh, there's over thousands and thousands of different train stations in Europe. But yes, from Amsterdam or anywhere else in Eastern Europe, we service such as Prague, Belarus, and a few other Eastern European destinations as well.
Fantastic. We had another member write in. They said that they were on the Coast Starlight in 2018. They were wondering if the train cars have been updated since then.
That's a great question. So, not to my recollection, I will say that Amtrak is doing a phenomenal job of continuing to update and monitor their train carriages. So that is something that they keep up with. They actually, depending on which member, when 2018, myself took the Coast Starlight back in 2018 with my wife, and that is something that I was asking one of the train conductors, and they say, yeah, we constantly try to monitor and update our carriages when the time is required for us to do so.
Sure. Very good. Well, that is all the questions that have came in on my end, Tyler. Is there anything that you would like to say before we close out for the day?
Nothing that comes to my mind, but I just want to say thank you so much for, first of all, having me, Nathan, be able to present and talk about my passion and love for trains, but also I hope all of you have a wonderful and train-tastic evening and also week.
Yeah, and thank you again, Tyler, for being on our webinar today, and thank you, members, for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate you taking times out of your busy life to learn more about train travel. And when you are ready to start talking about travel again and planning your next vacation, we here at AAA are very excited to get those plans started for you. And once travel gets the green light again and we can move about the country and the world again, we're excited to get you going. So if you think of any questions after the presentation that you weren't able to type in today, definitely reach out to us here at AAA and we'll get that started for you. So Thank you again for joining. I hope that you have a great evening, and we will talk to you very soon. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.